My name's Ben Horan, and I'm the Headmaster at Prime, so welcome. I hope you've had a good day so far. I'm probably going to start by talking about my own children. So my kids range in age from 16 through to 22. And I know I don't look old enough, but it's the joys of doing this job, and it keeps me looking young and fresh. And I have seen my children come home from school really happy. I've also seen them come home from school really sad. I've seen them come home from school completely energised about something they've done in lessons that day. And I've seen them come home from school a little bit lost, not sure that they fitted in and felt comfortable. My kids have been to all different sorts of schools. They've been to state schools and they've been to private schools. They've been to day schools and they've been to boarding schools. They've been to schools in Berkshire and they've been to schools in Bath. And they have had very, very different experiences. Now, the job I do, working with kids like that every day, is unbelievably important. But it's not the most important job I do. The most important job I have is as a father, is as a parent, to try and help my children be ready to go out into the world, because that's the gig, right? You want them to leave you at the end of it ready. And the schools that I have chosen for my children, particularly Prior Park College, have made a huge difference in my ability to do my most important job as a parent, and I'm pretty sure that's why most of the parents here are in the room today. What we see and what we know is that young people are in more need of more support and more help than ever. And schools like Prior make a huge difference with that. I think that being a parent really falls down into three different areas that your job is and that you're trying to make work. And they are to protect, to provide, and to prepare. So I think that first one, that notion of protection of your most precious possession, your most precious thing, is your child, really matters. From that moment that, and you will all, I'm sure, have some memory of this, that moment that you take them out from the hospital in that bundle of various blankets and so forth, to put them in that car seat that looks impossibly rickety because you don't want to take them in it, because you think, oh my gosh, I want to just keep them in the hospital forever so they can be properly looked after. And from that we carry on. Everything we do over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years is about protecting our young people. And if your child is in year 5, year 6, and you're making that next decision about schooling, that's part of the same thing. You are protecting that young person. You are trying, I think, to protect their future against the uncertainty of the world today, which is possibly scarier than it's ever been. Choosing the right school is an insurance against an uncertain future. Working with that school and having a school that you can work in partnership with is an opportunity to insure against the uncertainties of the world out there. And that's why I think a lot of parents are here. The big job of a parent is to provide. You provide a roof over their head. You provide food 3 times a day at least, and if you have teenage boys, probably 6, 7, maybe 8 times a day. Your job is to provide, and you're trying, by being here, to provide a brilliant education. You're looking at schools around this city and around Bath where there are lots of different sorts of excellent state schools and lots of different sorts of private schools, and you're trying to find the best one to provide that education for them. Because you're looking at the private school, you know that providing for them in this environment is harder than it's ever been. Thanks to the current government, it's probably about 20% harder than we might have hoped it would be. But that is the reality. There'll be parents here who didn't go to a private school. I didn't. Who want better for their children than they themselves receive. As part of that social contract that we all try and give our children better than we had. And there'll be parents here who went to very good private schools, who are looking to do something more for their children. Send them to a similar sort of school, give them a similar sort of experience. And that's hard to do, and it's difficult, and we know that. And that third thing, as they get older perhaps, is to prepare them. To prepare them for the world outside. To prepare them to leave you. Parenting is one of those very strange jobs, in a sense, in that actually you are planning all the way through, from that moment you pick them up and take them in the car away from hospital. You're planning for your own redundancy. You shouldn't be needed at a given point in your child's development. And if your child at some point comes to this school, then it's not inconceivable that they'll be sitting up on this stage in 2 or 3 years. It's not inconceivable that in 6 or 7 years it might be Luke or Emily with that degree of confidence and that degree of ability to stand up and start talking to you about their experience in a school like this. You may, at this sort of time of year, be finding yourself driving around the country to towns and cities looking at various university open days and looking at the children around here. That might seem impossibly distant, but I promise it's not. It'll be upon you before you know it. And if you've chosen the right school, if you've made the right decision, then you know that you'll be able to wave off your child with some joy in your heart, probably with a few tears in your eye, but knowing that you've prepared them for that next step and that you've worked with a school over the next 7 years, which is going to put them in the best possible position to thrive when they go to university. So I've mostly spoken to the parents so far, and I can see some of the young people starting to glaze over. So I'm going to jump down from here and talk to you now. Can I ask if you're able, and if you're here as a youngster, can you stand up for me? Don't worry, there's nothing to be scared about. I'm not going to make you do anything, but I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you really to think about a bigger question. And I suppose the bigger question I'm asking is, what is school for? Why are we here? And school, I think you go to school every day, right? Yes, would we agree? We go to school every day during term time. And do you go because your parents make you? Or do you go because your friends will go? Do you go because if you didn't go, someone from the government would come and knock on the door and say, why aren't you at school? Because you need to be. That might be it. But I want to ask you, if you can, to tell me what you go to school for. What is the reason that you go to school? Has anyone got any ideas? Anyone want to put their hand up? Yes, the hand went straight up. We'll go with that. Good. To see your friends and to do the subjects you really like learning. Now, because you went up very, very early, there's a sweetie coming from just behind you. And now I know that because I've offered a sweetie to one, everyone else's hand's going to go up and say, what? A sweetie. Don't worry, if I don't pick on you now, there will be sweeties when you walk out of the door at the end. Would anyone else like to tell me why you go to school? Yes. Fantastic. I'm going to go to the back there and then I'm coming through to you. Yes. Because you need to learn. Absolutely right. Cracking. Brilliant answer. Well done. Have a sweetie. Yes, young man. To learn again, you went for the same answer, but you still, even though you gave the same answer, get a sweetie. Yes, I'm going with Isaac back there. To prepare for the future. A very, very good answer. That's part of it. I'm going to dive in here for a younger one. Yes. To learn new stuff and have fun. Having fun is so important. Right. I think that's. I'm going to go with one there because the hand is stayed up. There's a diligent answer. To have lunch. Well, brilliant answer. So you definitely heard of Vera and Gaia talk there about the importance of lunch at Prior Farm. So what I'm going to ask is if everyone can sit back down now. Okay? That's brilliant. There will be sweeties when you leave, so if you don't have one now, don't worry. Okay, you will definitely get a sweetie, or the opportunity for a sweetie, if your parents permit, when you leave. Loads of brilliant answers. Friendship, to learn, to prepare, all of those things matter. But I think for me, the reason you go to school can probably be summed up in one umbrella word, which is to learn. If school was only about learning the curriculum that was there, it would be really, really dull. If it was just about learning subjects, it wouldn't be very enjoyable. You'd find it very, very boring, very, very quickly, and you probably wouldn't want to go. But subjects do matter. And you do have to go to school to learn things. You have to go to school to learn stuff. You have to go to school to learn English. You have to go to school to learn maths. Most importantly, you have to go to school to learn history, because that is obviously the most significant and important subject that we do. Can anyone guess what I teach? So, these things absolutely matter. But you also have to learn languages, you have to learn philosophy, you have to learn geography. These subjects that you do in a classroom are really important, but equally, and at schools like Prior, very much equally, it matters that you're doing music. It matters that you're doing drama. It matters that you're out doing sport. It matters that you're doing art. It matters that you're doing design. All because when you're learning those things, you're going to find the one thing that makes you deep down all the way happy. The thing that you will still do when you are in your 40s or in your 60s or when you've retired and are sitting there at home, a nice coastal cottage for me somewhere in Cornwall, that's the plan, and you're going to be doing the thing that makes your heart sing. That's part of the reason you learn. I think you learn other things as well. I think you learn about friendship. We heard someone talk about friends there. Okay? You learn about friendship. You learn which friends make you laugh. You learn which friends make you happy and are there to support you. You also learn how to get on with people you don't particularly like. And that's part of the joy of going to school. Maybe not the joy, but it's part of the importance of going to school. To be with people that you think, do you know what? I don't really get on with them, but I'm going to learn how to work with them. I'm going to be working alongside them. You learn how to get along with adults who may be adults who you think, do you know what? I struggle with that person. But you equally get on with adults who make a huge difference to your life. The only reason I'm standing here today is because of Mr. Robson, Bernard Robson, who was my teacher when I was at secondary school. You may have found a teacher at your current school, whether that's Paragon, whether that's Freshwood, whether that's Coombe Down. You may have found a teacher there who you think, oh, I cannot wait, I've got Mr. X today, or Ms. X today. I'm going to really enjoy that lesson. You might not have found that teacher yet. I promise you one thing. If you haven't found that teacher yet, you'll find them here. I could have asked any single one of those students on the stage, who's the teacher that you really, really enjoy being taught by? Who brings that subject to life? I can see some students in here, don't worry, George, don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to do that now, but they could give you an answer, because this school has teachers for whom that job is far more than a job. It's a vocation. It's the reason we get up in the morning. I still teach. I still teach a lower sixth and an upper sixth class, and it's the best part of my day. So you learn about that. The final thing I think you learn at school is about yourself. You learn what matters to you. You learn what's important to you. You learn what makes you sing, what makes your heart tick. Those things you learn in school about how to be a better person, how to be the best adult that you can be, really, really matter. And you get that in school. And you get that from good schools like Prior, which look to bring you on. So there are loads of brilliant schools in this city and in this part of the world. Fantastic state schools, lots of other sorts of independent private schools. There's only one school in this city which talks about being happy and successful in that order. And that's here. We are the only school which starts every decision we make putting the young person at the centre of the board. The decisions we make are focused on them. And that makes a massive difference to all of that learning that takes place for the young people. Because we know that we are there for them. And that makes an enormous difference. This school changes lives every single day. It transforms lives every single day. And I see that every single day. I'm going to finish by illustrating the sort of difference this school makes by telling you 3 stories. I'm going to start. The first one is about a young girl, young woman now, who left this school in July of this year. This young woman had been at another Bath independent school for the previous 5 years. A school which prides itself on being an academic powerhouse. And this young girl had to have a year off school after she finished year 11 because she was so traumatised by the level of pressure she felt and by the fact that to her it felt like she was just a number. Nobody knew her. It was a very, very unsatisfactory experience, and she was broken by it. The pressure she felt to conform to the mould that existed there was intolerable. And so she left and had a year working with children's mental health to try and support her and get her through. And she came here in the sixth form. Within a week, she had astonishingly secure friendships. Within a month, she rediscovered her joy and love of learning. And after 2 years, having stood there on Leavers Day winning prize after prize, she's now at a university, one of the top universities in the country, having succeeded academically with A stars and A's and A level. And she's there at that university thriving with friends and without fear. And that is the difference that this school made for that young person. And I don't believe there's another school in this city, I don't believe there's another school in this country that would have made that difference to a young person who needed that level of support. Academically, outstanding student. Hated the level of pressure and expectations of conformity that she had placed upon her at that other school. That's not what we're about. I occasionally, only very rarely, will dig into the hellish morass that is social media. I try very hard not to, but part of the job is kind of keeping an eye on social media accounts and having to post something, create content. Brings me out in a slight rash. But I was on the gram on Thursday, and I saw on there that another school in Bath, to much fanfare, another private school in Bath, had to much fanfare decided that they were going to introduce yonder pouches for mobile phones for their students, which are pouches where you put them in at the beginning of the day and unlock them at the end of the day. I saw that post 2 days ago. 2.5 years ago, we took the decision to remove mobile phones from our students at school. Not 2 days ago, 2.5 years ago, we took that decision. We don't give them a pouch to put their phone in so they can feel secure to have it next to them. At the beginning of the day, every tutor or every housemaster or housemistress, we call them husbands, takes the phone off the student, puts it into a locked room, and they pick it up at the end of the day. 8 hours later. Other schools in the city have given them these pouches, these plastic, planet-polluting, gimmicky pouches that if you've got a magnet in 30 seconds to look at a YouTube tutorial, you can open. We don't do that. We free these young people from the oppression of the mobile phone. And I know that there will be some young people in here who don't have a mobile phone yet, who are in their parents' ear every single day. Can I have a mobile? 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 Fight the good fight. Keep saying no, because it makes a massive difference to their happiness, to their mental health, and to their level of enjoyment of life. And we see that here every day. When I walk into a house, those Hogwartsian house spaces that Jessica spoke about, I see children talking to each other. I see students engaging with table tennis. I see students engaging with pool. I see students playing chess. I see students playing music. I see students talking. That makes a huge difference every single day. And we've taken a decision this year to extend that to our sixth form. So even our sixth form students, our 16, 17 and 18-year-olds, don't have their phones in school for the day. And that makes an enormous difference to their learning and to their level of engagement and enjoyment of school. We did not take that decision because it was easy. We did not take that decision because it was popular. I was possibly the least popular person in BA2 for about a week after we made that decision. But I think now every student would say, actually, we quite like him. It's quite a good thing. This is where you nod at the guy and tell me that I'm right. Well, so I think what we see is a really different, powerful message going out. We don't take the decision to do things 2.5 years late. We take the decision to do it early. We take the decision because it's the right thing for that young person, for all of our young people. And we put, as I said earlier, the children at the centre of the ball when we make those decisions. We do the right thing for those young people. And that makes a massive difference. Do you want to be at a school which will take the difficult decision and put children's well-being at the centre? Or do you want to be in a school that will wait until it becomes de rigueur to do that before everybody else has done it? Do you want to be at a school that leads with children's well-being, or do you want to be in a school which follows 2.5 years later? Ask yourself that question in terms of what you want for your child and how much focus on their well-being and their happiness you think your school should care about. The final thing I'll talk about, I started by talking about my most important job as a parent. Still my most important job. And my children have been at different sorts of schools. But they've also been here. My 22-year-old joined prior in the September of 2020, so the kind of height of COVID, and he'd been at a state school in Berkshire. Fair to say he was completely out of love with education. There was even some question in his mind as to whether or not he would do a sixth form course. He came here and loved it. It made a huge difference to him. So much so that not only did he carry on and do A-levels in the sixth form, he went to university where he graduated 3 months ago. And he's about to go and do a master's. And that's because of the difference that the teachers here made to him. He will still occasionally wander across and see his teachers. Plays cricket with Mr. Bond occasionally. He sees Miss Bonnie, who was one of his bosoms when he was here. He sees Miss Redman, who was one of his PE teachers who he adored, and who still asks after him every time she talks to him. That's the difference that this place makes. A young man who was not going to pursue education much further, who's now off to go do a master's. Which I'm thrilled about because it's not at all expensive to manage, but we'll get there, and that's okay. My 19-year-old played 3 terms of first team sport, ended up captaining the first 11 cricket. Decent sportsman, terrible academic. Needed someone to stand over him, not with a big stick, but with a little bit of gentle love, usually me, and didn't always have an easy time, academically, socially, emotionally. He found it quite hard. That might have had something to do with the fact that his father was the headmaster, but for the most part, he got through. And he got through because his husband was always there, checking in on him every day. His tutor was always there, checking in on him every day, making sure that he was okay. There were other members of staff who went out of their way, not because he was a headmaster's son, but because he was a prior student, to be there for him. And he's now just starting, was about a month into his degree at Manchester University, having managed to get really good A-levels, which is fantastic, and not something I would necessarily have predicted a few years ago. My baby, my youngest, is 16 years old. He's just started on his A-levels and has the unenviable joy of having to be taught A-level history by his father, which I think he's managing all right and is enjoying it. He is whip smart, got some of the best GCSEs in his year, is absolutely superb, and despises team sports with a visceral passion. Has not played a team sport since he was in year 8. If I threw a rugby ball at him, he would let it hit him and look at me and think, what are you doing? Why have you not? He's not interested. But he's in so many teams, because he's in the debating team, he's in the senior chapel choir, he's in the chess team, he's in the Philosophon teams and the Modern United Nations teams. Anything that might be vaguely intellectual and cerebral, he does, he acts, he sings, and he is so happy. My 16-year-old is neurodiverse, a self-driven diagnosis about 12 months ago. And for him, he's got more friends here than I would ever have imagined possible 3 or 4 years ago, because he is so happy and he knows who he is. I spoke about those things you learn about yourself. He knows entirely, confidently, deep down in his core who he is, because he's at a school which knows him and which affords him the opportunity to care for the things that he does care about. And that matters so much. He is so happy, even though he's being taught by his dad, and he's going to thrive. The best decision I ever took, ever, as a father, was to become headmaster of this school. Because it's made a huge difference to my family. The young people I'm sending out into the world, which is the gig, which is what we're here for as parents, are ready for it, because I did a halfway decent job. I did that, that's okay, no, it's fine. But because the school was there for them to support and to help them. We all know, because we all read the papers, I'm sure, that the private school sector is probably under more pressure now than it has been at any other point since I'm going to go with the mid-60s. It's a really difficult marketplace out there. And you will, we're quite late on the open day cycle, the open morning cycle. You've probably been to lots of other schools above, all of which are doing a similar sort of pitch, and all of which want your money. Some of which need your money. It might be worth going and looking on the Charities Commission website to see the level of debt being run by some other schools. And I'm not going to lie and say that having your children come here and having you invest in Pride Park for their education would not be lovely. But it's not the primary motivation I'm here. And it's not the primary motivation for any single teacher at this school. The reason we are here is because, as I said earlier, this is our vocation. We want to make a difference to young people every single day. And I think we do. I know that at Pride Park, no student views himself as just a number. And that's the difference this school makes. I know that at Pride Park, every student is happy and successful in that order. And there's no other school that can say that. I know that when our students leave here at 18, they know who they are, and they're ready and prepared to go out into the world, fulfilling that final duty of parenthood, preparing your children for the next step. We make a difference to students every single day here. What I really hope is that all of the young people that I see here will have an opportunity